2022 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Culture Club.
KUAM News headlines are presented by Calvo's Insurance, protecting Micronesia for 85 years. Matson, celebrating 25 years of commitment to Guam, Micronesia, and the CNMI. Cars Plus Finish Line Express is now open at Cars Plus in Mighty. The state-of-the-art car wash is now open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it. And King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Ahead on KUAM News Primetime, Guam getting national attention for the constant regional threats and the uptick in military presence. We've got reaction from local leaders who are focused on protecting the island.
Do you feel safe, Dededo? It's a question that echoes all across the island. Tonight, the Legislative Committee of Public Safety is meeting with this community to hear them out. I'm Julian Hernandez with the live report.
And controversy over an electric scooter station in front of the police precinct. After our investigative report, the police chief saying he wasn't aware it would be plugged into the building. Now the company must remove it.
Half a day and good evening. Happy Fresco Friday. Welcome to KUAM News Primetime. I'm Nick Delgado.
And I'm Destiny Cruz. Thanks so much for ending your week here with us. Well, Guam's vital position in this part of the world, plus the growing military presence on the island, has sparked major interest.
The territory, again, making national headlines, causing many to share their concerns over the reports tonight. What those reports say about Guam and reaction from our leaders.
Guam, where America's next war may begin. This is the headline published earlier this month by The Economist, reporting the island is vulnerable. The report specifically highlighting how the territory is, quote, where America's day begins, as Guam likes to sell itself incorrectly, is also where a future American war with China may begin, adding the island is only thinly defended and that China makes no secret Guam is in its crosshairs. In response to the article, Guam's Governor Lulian Guerrero says,
I don't agree with that. I think that's putting a lot of fear on our people, but that doesn't mean to say that we're not concerned and that we're not being prepared, and that's why I'm very adamant about having our medical hospital here to a level where we can provide the care necessary should major disasters occur.
The article also includes an interview with Missile Defense Agency Director Vice Admiral John Hill. He is quoted saying, "We are playing catch-up," adding that several radars are being put in place to improve the island's chances of surviving an attack. This, he says, together with the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, or THAAD, will offer more robust protection against ballistic missiles.
The threat is there.
Guam Delegate James Moylan giving input the same day North Korea launches a long-range missile into waters between the Korean Peninsula and Japan. It's constant threats to the region that come as the military buildup progresses on Guam. Many Guamanians sharing this report from the New York Times, headline, Uneasy Coexistence on Guam, Military Buildup and an Indigenous Upwelling. The article includes a close look at the island life and the obvious military presence on land, air, and sea. Delegate Moylan noting the importance of Marine Corps Base Camp Blaz, currently under construction, and ongoing efforts in Washington, D.C. to keep this part of the world safe.
We're addressing different concerns regarding the protection of the people right now that we're in discussion with to ensure this money coming from the National Defense Authorization Act.
Moylan is a member of the House Armed Services Committee.
We know the threat is there. They shot missiles over through Japan. They shot missiles over through Guam as well. It's continuous because they are concerned. They want to expand. They want Taiwan. They want. It's a very dangerous situation. But I can assure you from the briefings that I have, my understandings that I see and continues to learn, that the nation is well protected. And the emphasis is now to get the ammunition, the supply, the fuel, the troops as much forward as possible.
Ultimately, Moylan says efforts are underway to defend Guam.
Today is the deadline to sign the federal lease for Eagles Field, the governor's choice as the future site of her billion-dollar medical campus.
But as of late this afternoon, Adelup Communications Director Crystal Pacos and Augustine said they had no update on the status of the deal or a backup plan. Legal teams for the governor and the Navy have been working to address Attorney General Douglas Moylan's concerns after he refused to sign the lease. His legal review found that the legislature needs to be involved in the appropriation process, and a provision for a military takeover in the event of a national emergency would be inorganic. The legislature also raised transparency concerns in the planning of the project, and a group of ancestral landowners also opposed the deal, demanding instead to get their property back. Admiral Benjamin Nicholson has said if the lease isn't signed, the land will be used for other mission-critical requirements.
Criminals are still at it across the island. That's evident by the daily police complaints and arrests. Now, Dededo residents are being called to speak out about public safety in their neighborhoods.
There's a meeting underway at the Dededo Community Center tonight. That's where we find our Julian Hernandez at this hour with more. Jules?
Nick and Des, well, right now the meeting is not starting up just yet, but the crowd could be picking up later on tonight as they are given an opportunity tonight to come here and voice out their concerns and possibly their frustrations for public safety here in the village of Dededo or lack thereof. Some of the Dededo residents that we spoke with earlier today were speaking their truths and admitting that the village of Dededo is not as safe as they remembered it to be. A sense of security. That's how Arnel Carbonell says he had while living in Dededo at a young age.
As far as when I was growing up, we were able to walk around. Transportation and houses are, you can leave your house open pretty much.
A simpler time now rocked with the uptick in crime happening too close to home.
Now everybody pretty much, with the situation going, robberies and all this crime, people must stay in their home, and everything's going up. Everybody's putting security cameras and all that stuff. So much to worry about.
A worry that Tina Guzman shares.
There are a lot of people that stay in Dededo, so therefore, we do have, I guess, the most crimes.
Guzman sharing that safety in her neighborhood needs to be better prioritized.
Earlier this year, my son was assaulted at the dog park. And so we had to call GPD, and unfortunately the assailant ran away. They weren't able to catch him, and this was all because my son had confronted them. We have a really bad homeless situation in Dededo, and I'm sure in every village, but in Dededo it is really bad.
A bad encounter forcing them to have to watch their backs and change up how they live in their neighborhood.
In terms of safety, we don't go to the dog park anymore. I do have other people that are caring for the dog park only because of the situation that happened.
She says vandals also target the park, causing an eyesore. And she's not alone on how she feels. Claude Julian shares why he doesn't feel as safe.
There's been some times where, for example, just getting a cup of coffee, and then there's just people just walking around, or even shopping at American Grocery. There's just people that's outside just asking for spare a dollar, stuff like that, and then they're holding a weapon or something like that. So it kind of made me feel uneasy, especially when I'm with my family.
A situation that leaves many in this northern village on edge, each now hoping more can be done to again make them feel safe. Those are just some of the reasons that led Public Safety Oversight Chair Senator Chris Barnett to hold the meeting here in the village. Barnett telling KUAM earlier today, quote, "Our people want to be heard, and we are going to listen to them. We have to work hard to set a new standard for public service now so that we can see more of this discussion all across the island." We'll have more on tonight's meeting at KUAM.com. For now, I'm Julianne Hernandez. Back to you.
Thanks, Jules. Well, in other news, the two men arrested in connection to the murder of Marine veteran Jaron Wilbacher will have to wait to find out what happens next in their case. Defendants John Mike Muliaga and Fai Aki appeared before Judge John Sirlahi in the Superior Court today. Muliaga is charged with murder, while Aki is charged with manslaughter.
The court bringing up lingering issues still needing to be addressed with an expert witness. The cousins who stand accused in attacking Wilbacher outside of the King's Tamuning in 2021 will appear back in court on May 16th. An update to what has become a controversial issue over an electric scooter station. KUAM first investigated concerns over the new fleet of scooters parked in front of the Tumon precinct. Our Mitsuki Hirayama finding that the solar-powered scooter station plugged in to the government building.
Now, 1 week later, the chief of police is addressing those concerns and letting the company know they have to pack up their scooters and charging station.
The top brass admits he was caught off guard. Guam Police Chief Stephen Ignacio admitting he was told otherwise prior to learning the scooter station set up on the Tumon Police Precinct property is hooked up to the building with access to pull from their utilities.
Initially, my understanding is that they were supposed to put a charging station, a solar charging station. So, I was kind of caught off guard when I found out that they were plugged into the precinct.
As KUAM first reported, Guyoyo officials confirming the solar-powered parking station only pulls power when there's not enough sun and when there's a power outage. Ignacio saying he would have a talk with the officers working with the Guyoyo to better understand the situation.
Some of the pictures that I've seen, it looks like it was more of a pickup station where you drop off and pick up scooters. And that's not my understanding when I first had this discussion with my command staff that was working with Guyoyo.
While he wasn't aware it would be hooked up to the precinct's utilities, Ignacio makes the same argument one of his officers made when we paid them a visit last week.
If the issue is that these scooters, this charging station is plugged into the precinct, I would also like to point out, and I've stated this again, that there are vending machines that are not owned by the government of Guam, that have no benefit to the government of Guam, that are plugged into multiple government buildings.
Guam law states the GovGuam agency heads or designee approves the installation of vending machines, but the law only speaks specifically to the sale of food or beverages and not electric scooters. When asked if the vending machines are allocated from GPD's budget or if the vendors are compensating GPD, he says that's never been the case.
No. I don't know of any. The Guam Police has never received any compensation that I know of for having these vending machines plugged into facilities owned or leased by the by the Guam Police Department.
Our report left the chief with more questions, which led to him meeting face-to-face with Guyoyo staff at the precinct earlier today. Late this afternoon, Chief Ignacio telling KUAM he asked the company to remove it, telling them he was never made aware they would be plugging into the building. Ignacio saying the last thing he wants is to turn the front of the precinct into a drop-off and pickup area like what we see here. He also advised the company to check the governor's office and the Guam Visitors Bureau to get permission if they want to hook back up. Mitsuki Hirayama, KUAM News.
Thanks, Mitsuki. Good job with that report there. We'll have more news in a moment. Of course, a happy day to all our viewers now watching on our exclusive local channel on Peacock.
Catch us and all your favorite shows on peacocktv.com/local. We've got that QR code on your screen as well. Keep it here to KUAM, your leader in local news.
Half a day Fresco Fridays on KUAM News. Presented by Fresco Clothing, original custom design apparel of Guam and the Marianas. Located in Hagåtña, just across from the Gani Shopping Center.
The wait is over, Guam. The all-new state-of-the-art car wash is now open at Cars Plus. Introducing Finish Line Express, open 7 days a week. The all-new cashless drive car wash is also the largest car wash on island that can accommodate vehicles such as lifted Jeeps and full-size pickup trucks. Just roll up, pick a wash, insert credit card, or show your EverWash app and roll through. Plus, power vacuums are available to clean the interior. Show your vehicle some love today at the all-new car wash at Cars Plus in Mighty. Open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week.
Dude, KFC's Double Down is back?
Double down, double, double, double down. Chicken, chicken, bacon, chicken, chicken, cheese. Double down, double, double, double down.
Buy a Double Down on the KFC app until March 18th for early beta access to Diablo 4.
What you need to know from the Northern Marianas. Follow KUAM CNMI on Instagram for the latest regional headlines.
Welcome back to Prime Time. What are the priorities of the Guam Department of Education, special education stakeholders coming forward during a roundtable hearing on special education challenges? Thursday night, the Guam Congress building filled with concerned parents airing their frustration, like Samuel Donato. He's been trying to get a specialized wheelchair for his son who has cerebral palsy.
I'm here out of frustration with the system. And I have my eldest son, he's 12 years old, and he has special needs. He requires a specialized wheelchair. His hips are dislocated. He needs the one that reclines and just a special harness and everything. But to this date, he does not have the wheelchair. And if the status is still at procurement, I would just ask again, Mr. Babao, to please help my son.
Another concern, the lack of interpreters at GDOE for deaf and hard of hearing students. Myra Mendiola, who herself is deaf, says there is only one interpreter for elementary school, one for middle school, and 3 or 4 for high school.
If that interpreter is sick, then there is no interpreter for that individual. So what they have to do now is like move the interpreter from the high school over to the middle school, the elementary, but that makes it a struggle. GDOE is not making that a priority.
From the lack of one-to-one aides, therapists, funding, and more, the nearly 5-hour-long roundtable hearing full of numerous concerns and challenges holding special needs students back.
Who ultimately runs the Guam Visitors Bureau and under what specific policies and procedures?
That was the focus of a tourism committee roundtable hearing today to try and settle a nearly year-long dispute between GVB management and its board. Nestor Lecanto reports.
The tensions between GVB's management and board came to a head when President and CEO Carl Gutierrez went public with conflict of interest charges against several board members past and present for making policy and spending decisions benefiting their respective companies. Gutierrez also lobbed criticism about how the board's bylaws have strayed too far from the Bureau's enabling statute. GVB has since commissioned a review of the inconsistencies with recommendations for better alignment. And that's what Tourism Chair Senator Amanda Shelton said they were there to discuss.
And the generation of leaders who gave us the Guam Visitors Bureau could never have imagined what tourism would look like 53 years later. We owe it to them and the vision they had for Guam more than 50 years ago to ensure that GVB policies are consistent with government regulations and industry best practices.
GVB President Gutierrez suggests that for now, what they should do is amend the current bylaws, then work to ultimately come up with a single new piece of legislation to update the law.
To change the Enabling Act right now, piecemeal, I think it would be more problematic. I think there should be just one introduction of a rewrite of the Enabling Act that GVB should operate under.
But there was a fundamental change to GVB presented by legal counsel Joe McDonald. He proposed breaking up the Bureau into 2 distinct parts.
One that actually carries out the mission. I call it the incubator and the driver, that carries out the mission of continuing to develop the tourism industry and to incentivize growth. Let's embrace it. Let's not hide behind it. But the other side is, why do they come to Guam in the first place? And this is what I call the incubator side, the curator side and the beautification side. We have to still curate the island. We still have to keep it beautiful. We have to develop actually the cultural attributes of it.
More detailed discussion is expected. As Chairperson Shelton says, this will probably be the first of several hearings to revamp GVB. Nestor Lecanto, KUAM News.
The CNMI Senate is working to give the Marianas Visitors Authority more power to repair Saipan's rundown tourist sites.
It originated in the previous House of Representatives, and Senator Edith De Leon Guerrero reintroduced the bill to allow the Marianas Visitors Authority to plan, design, and propose projects to enhance the island's tourist destinations. The moves come amid sharp criticism from Japan travel industry leaders who tell Governor Arnold Palacios during a recent visit that Saipan needs to clean up if it wants more visitors.
A lot of this has to do with jurisdictional issues, who has the authority, and again also with respect to funding. But I think at this time in time, we need to start leveraging with one another with respect to how do we address the tourist sites and how do we fix them. And if you notice, Section R talks about MVA may sponsor and issue grants for projects. So that is a very important language in the legislation, because it may not necessarily mean that they themselves are the ones that are doing the hands-on.
The NMI Senate President says she spoke with the Department of Lands and Natural Resources and Marianas Visitors Authority, who both back the bill. Well, hundreds of eager island racers made their way to the Micronesia Mall today to pick up their bibs, singlets, and competition day goodies in preparation for GVB's ginormous Coco race weekend.
A ginormous one indeed. The festivities starting tomorrow with the Coco Kids Fun Run at Ipao Beach Park, and then Sunday, the big kids take the course for the Coco Road Race 10K. There's still time to register. Just head on over to visitguam.com/Coco. That's KOKO. Packet pickup continues until 8 o'clock tonight, and then Saturday from 2 to 6 p.m. Good luck to all the racers. Now for a look at your world at home. Here's a view captured from the cliffside at Capitol Kitchen.
The weekend will bring in some clouds in our skies and a 20 to 30% chance of rain.
And Blue Planet Foundation exists to end the use of carbon-based fuel in Hawaii. Why Hawaii? Hawaii is my home. I believe that before you can ask other people to clean their room, you have to clean your own room. Hawaii is my room.
This conference is a great representation of the magic that can happen when you bring people from different island communities, different sectors together.
Don't need a work break, keep the smile on your face. The moments you can't replace, and I'll be around. Whoa. You can count on me. You can count on me for life.
Wherever life takes you, we're always here for you. Calvo's Insurance. Count on us for life.
KUAM Sports is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
Swish, swish.
Another one in the basket.
Welcome to KUAM Sports. Our partners with Clutch Guam got us covered with all the highlights.
Here's the final score. Don't go anywhere just yet. More from your news leaders in a moment.
KUAM Sports is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
Honey, do you want some milk?
Do you ever wonder how your favorite products make their way into your local stores? Most arrive on state-of-the-art Matson vessels that transport containers of food, household items, equipment, and supplies into the islands every week. Because we know that you depend on us, we work closely with our partners to ensure that our shipments arrive on time, all the time, so you can find your favorite products when you need them. We transport the region's most precious cargo that supports successful businesses and promotes a better quality of life for our families. Matson is proud to have been the hometown shipping carrier for Guam, the CNMI, and Micronesia for the past 25 years, and you can count on us to be here for generations to come.
Feed Me Fridays is brought to you by Devondale, real milk from free grazing cows.
Half a day is Julianne from KUAM News, and today I'm stopping by Slingstone in Agana to try their strawberry macchiato. What's up? Buenas and Hapaday, Guam. I stopped by our friends at Slingstone Coffee Shop and I got me a strawberry macchiato love. First of all, look how aesthetically pleasing this is. Like, it feels too, I don't know, I'm gonna feel a little bit bad to mixing it up. Just a little bit. Let me see how it tastes. Oh my God, has the right amount of sweet with a hint of the coffee. I tried the Devondale milk, and it really just, for me, it elevates the creaminess of the strawberry milk and then blending it in with the coffee. Just chef's kiss. Big thanks to our friends at Slingstone Coffee Shop and Devondale Milk for this lovely drink, and that's another edition for Feed Me Fridays.
Feed Me Fridays is brought to you by Devondale, real milk from free grazing cows.
Jules, our birthday lady there with the Feed Me Friday mix.
Yes, happy birthday, Jules. Well, before we get to that, so many things happening in this part of the world, and here to tell us all about it is Jason Salas.
Here's your News Bites.
Thank you so much. This is News Bites, where we give you digestible morsels of all the awesome things that are happening around the island, led off today by the Guam Council on the Arts and Humanities, presenting the first annual Mariana Islands International Dance and Arts Festival. The signature event will be held in Saipan during the Flame Tree Festival and locally. That's right here with 3 mini festivals in Dedido, Sinanya, and in Inalahan. Local artists, vendors, and musicians will round out the events. Members of the John Dank Show, KPV, the Homies, Mixed Plate, and Joe Morrow are combining their talents for a special performance at each. Make sure to please check it out. On Saturday, April the 15th, parents and guardians are invited to bring their children to the Micronesia Mall Center Court to participate in the Teddy Bear Island Clinic. The event's a community program geared towards reducing fear and anxiety about medical personnel, procedures, and vaccinations. Where was this when I was a kid? Through fun interactive play with a free teddy bear while supplies last, the program increases health literacy and promotes healthy behavior. Again, that's April 15th, Saturday at the Micronesia Mall. The members of the Public Administration and Legal Studies program over at the University of Guam are holding a hygiene drive from April 1st through May 31st to provide resources for those who need a helping hand, dubbed PALS Hygiene Drive. Will be collected by the PALS executive officers or dropped off at room 129 at the School of Business and Public Administration. And our friends at B. Hartfeldt, in partnership with the Tamuning Mayor's Office, are holding a very special event of their own, a hygiene kit drive until April 20th. Items can be dropped off at the Tamuning Mayor's office. That is going to do it for News Bites on this Friday, everybody. This is the spot, and it is hot. That's why we call the show the Hot Spot. See how we do things there? And we are on the air each and every weekday at 11 a.m. Peacock, YouTube, KUAM TV8, and Facebook.
Now time for your Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club shoutout submitted on KUAM.com.
And it's Friday. We announced this week's winner of a yummy Cold Stone Creamery ice cream cake. Keep it here.
Friday birthday celebrants are led off by the very lovely Julian Hernandez, our newest reporter, but someone who's very, very experienced in the world of journalism. And Jules, man, welcome home and happy birthday from all of your KUAM family here, especially in the newsroom. We know we're going to have fun today, so happy birthday to you, Julian. Also, Layla Uwalia Ong, a happy 29th birthday wishes to you. Look ahead, look back, sing out, dance around, get down, and love it up. Let's party like it's 1999. Hey, shout out to Prince. With all of our banging love, the Better Brunch Bureau. And a happy birthday to KUAM kid for Gigi Perez, otherwise known as Giselle. Her mom is a former KUAM reporter, Michelle Catahay. So, man, it's a family party today. Gigi, we hope you are having a wonderful, wonderful birthday. I had to call your mom to get this picture, and we hope you have a fantastic, wonderful. I know you're going to have something wonderful to eat, and your parents love you very, very much, so we hope you have a good birthday. All right, those are this Friday's birthday celebrants. And now to the other piece of business we got to get to, because today is Friday. Joaquin Manabusan, happy birthday once again. Oh, excuse me. Happy birthday once again. And you are now the proud owner and recipient of a Cold Stone Creamery ice cream cake. We will be in touch with you and your family to let you know when you all can pick up your prize, share, enjoy, and be happy, because once again, it's your birthday.
Happy birthday to everybody celebrating, and what better way to celebrate your birthday than celebrating at the Agana Heights Coconut Festival all day long.
Right, it's all weekend long actually at Fort Pugan, right?
Yes, that exactly.
Yeah, so check it out there because I heard boom, there'll be fireworks there tonight. And that's your primetime show. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Nick Delgado.
And I'm Destiny Cruz. For more news, we've got you covered on KUAM.com, on social media at KUAM News, and now on Peacock. Stay safe and have a great weekend.
KUAM News Hotspot is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
Surging power bills fueled by the high price of oil are draining local household budgets. The Guam Power Authority has been working to reduce those costs with not only the construction of a new $560 million 198 megawatt power plant that will burn much cheaper fuel, but more importantly, GPA is simultaneously building up its renewable energy infrastructure. The costs for solar energy have dropped dramatically over the past decade, and the technology improvements are accelerating at an exponential rate. GPA's long-set goals of achieving 50% renewables by 2035 and 100% by 2045 now seem easily eclipsed. In fact, it hosted a forum this week on Guam's clean energy transition that explores ways to get there even faster. We'll talk much more about that coming right up.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Hub. I'm Nestor Lecanto, and I'm pleased to welcome our guests today. They are going to talk about solar energy and everything you need and should know about that. First, we have Scott Hasse, who is the Director of Strategic Partnership Projects, Energy Systems Integration Directorate, National Renewable Energy Laboratory. I'm reading this because they got quite lengthy titles here. So we also have Jeremy Twitchell, who is the Senior Energy Research Analyst, Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. Energy Storage Challenges and Policy Solutions is what he talked about during a forum yesterday at the down in Tumon, I believe it is at. And of course, John Cruz, who is he's an engineer and the Assistant General Manager for GPA's Engineering and Technical Services. And he's also the Clean Energy Transition Architect, trying to get us into solar energy as fast as he can. Gentlemen, so thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. It's a great opportunity.
Thank you. Scott, let me start with you. So your presentation was on the getting to energy renewable energy as quickly as we can. Talk a little bit about just an overview of what you were presenting.
Well, I had two presentations. The first one was kind of leading into a flavor of all the different presentations that were going to be had through the conference, and it starts out with breaking the grid, right, and building it back better. So GPA's intention in this clean energy transition is not only to get us to 50% and then 100% renewable energy or non-greenhouse gas emissions generation for the island, but using the renewable integration framework that we're going to roll out to improve the performance of the grid. So we want to make it highly resilient, highly reliable, very affordable, right, and sustainable. And we want to be able to delight customers with a lot of the things that we're rolling out and have been rolling out.
Yeah.
I just had a recent visit by the Ops Nav from the Navy, and they asked me, we noticed that there aren't as many short outages out there, right? And we told them that's because we put in a battery. And GPA is one of the leaders in the entire world, right, when it comes to the use of a battery energy storage system for something called fast frequency regulation and rapid reserve.
Okay. Yeah, John, let me break in here because I wanted to get into batteries a little bit later because I think and storage is a very critical part of this. Let me get back to Scott and just to set the table here because what I want to start off with was getting to 100% and lessons learned from across the world. Scott, if you could just give us a brief overview of that.
Sure.
Yeah, that's Scott. Okay, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, hi. So thank you for the question, Nestor. It's great to be here on Guam. So NREL has been working for the past decade or so to help jurisdictions, local communities look at pathways to 100% through technical modeling, kind of informed decision-making processes to really look at the technical details required to get to 100%. So what typically happens around the world is a local, state, city will pass a ordinance to say, we want to get to 100%, but they leave out all the details of how to get there. So what we do is help understand the actual details of power system modeling to understand the technical issues with building out, whether it's solar, wind, storage, the local resources, but tailoring that to local situations. So what I presented on was some lessons that we had learned from working in both Puerto Rico right now, where we're in the middle of a Puerto Rico 100 study, as well as some groundbreaking work we did in the city of Los Angeles, which was also working to get to a pathway for the city to get to 100% renewables. So that work is still ongoing. The initial modeling has been completed, but we're continuing to help now on the implementation side of things.
All right. So let me also set the table because granted, I think there is strong support for sustainability and for renewable energy, but for the average customer, and John, you know this, of course, their biggest concern is, okay, how long is this going to take and how much is it going to lower my power bills? I mean, that's the top of their mind. So maybe let me start with you, Jeremy, and John, if you could chime in afterwards about that question.
Okay, that's to me, right?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so in 2018, we completed a renewable integration study, right? And the aim of that study was to get rid of all the technical impediments towards 50 and 100%, right? And we've built upon that, and we're reaching out to the national labs, and we're going to work with NREL to get a Guam 100 and do all of the analysis for that. John Beneventi has gone out on a limb and said he's going to reduce the LEAC by more than half, and by the time that we have all these built out, and by 2026 we should see something like that. The GPA strategy for renewable additions has been, we'll ride the technology curve up, the capability curve up, right? If we did it all at once, we'll rob ourselves of future advances and ride the cost curve down. So we're not going to award contracts that are going to increase our power bill. We're gonna do this in a fashion where we improve the affordability for people. I mean, that's the difference between the GPA-led effort towards clean energy and probably some other jurisdictions that maybe Scott has been involved in. I believe in Los Angeles. Scott, can you talk about what the possibility for the cost of energy would be after the LA
John,
100? I mean, you touched on it in your presentation and in our discussions offline.
All right, John, let me break you in right here because we do have to take a break and we'll get to that discussion. And also I want to bring Jeremy into the discussion as well, but we need to take a real quick break. We'll be back in just a moment.
Guam's auto appearance specialist, Elegant Reflections, has been providing the automotive industry with professional detailing and car care products at its highest quality, from complete detailing, full interior detailing, exterior detailing, headlamp restoration, hand washing, seat and carpet shampoo, engine degreasing, undercarriage cleaning, paint sealant, fabric protection, paint oxidation removal, and so much more. Visit us at our new location. Call 646-5555 for an appointment. Elegant Reflections, Guam's auto appearance specialist, over 20 years of experience.
Okay, we are back, and I did want to bring Jeremy Twitchell into the conversation. Jeremy, you talked yesterday about energy storage, the challenges and policy solutions, and as I understand it, I think energy storage is just as important as the other part of the equation, because you can have as much solar power as you can broadcast, you can put out there, but at night, the sun's no longer there, so you need the storage. So the production of the solar energy is only as good, I think, as the storage that you've got for it. So talk a little bit about your presentation.
Yeah, absolutely happy to. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, as you mentioned, as we move down the pathway towards renewable generation and clean energy generation, we're relying a lot on wind and solar, but as you pointed out, the sun is not always shining, the wind is not always blowing. So what we see in the studies we've done is that as we have more and more renewable energy on the grid, we start to see really big mismatches between when energy is produced and when energy is needed. So we'll have way more energy than we need during the day when the sun is shining, but then not enough at night when the sun goes down. So energy storage is really a key part of this energy transition because it allows us to capture that extra energy during the day and then move it to when we need it. And now, because energy storage is really flexible, it's flexible in terms of where we can put it. We can make it big, we can make it small. You can make a big, large installation like GPA has done in a couple of places. You can put it behind the meter. You can have a little storage system in your garage. So there's lots of places you can put it. It's flexible in terms of the benefits it can provide for the grid. My presentation was really talking about all the unique ways that we can use energy storage on the grid, and then how we need to rethink some of the ways that we plan and operate the grid in order to allow storage to do the things that it can do.
Yeah, and initially, as I understand it, costs, the storage costs were pretty high, but now that they've gone down considerably, dramatically, that makes it all the more feasible, yes, for systems, particularly like for GUAMs?
Yes, that is correct. Costs have come down. We did see a bit of a hiccup during COVID and the supply chain issues where costs did spike back up. All the analysts and forecasts that are out there are saying that by about 2024, we should be back on track in terms of where we were before on the costs. But the big change here is the Inflation Reduction Act that creates some very significant tax incentives for energy storage assets, just depending on how big your system is and where you're putting it and a few other things, you can get up to a 60% tax credit. So it really is a big game changer in terms of reducing the net cost of storage.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've heard is that, time is of the essence because the Inflation Reduction Act isn't going to be around forever. There's some timelines, some deadlines.
So there are some limitations. There's a base credit of 30%, and then there's some additional credits that you can stack on top of that. Some of those stacking credits do have some limitations, and there's limitations in terms of how many people can claim it each year, how many projects. But that base credit of 30%, that one is pretty much locked in until at least 2032. So that's reliable. And then, yeah, as you pointed out, some of those other credits might be a little more flexible, may expire, be unavailable a little sooner.
All right, I think we're getting John back. So before we get to that, let me ask you, Scott. What I've heard is that and this is based on what I was looking at in the International Energy Agency 2010 forecast for solar costs. Compared to now, there's been a dramatic decline over the past decade in the costs of solar energy. Talk about that and talk about the fact that solar energy is a technology that goes down over time, while oil is a commodity which basically fluctuates all the time. So there's more reliability in having solar, yeah?
Yeah, so I'd like that. I'd like to preface that it also takes money to enable a grid to accept and use that solar PV energy reliably, sustainably. So we need to balance this, the presentation and the flow of information on it. Yes, there have been some dramatic decreases, but you just don't plug it in and say it's going to work.
Right.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah. And Scott, your thoughts on the costs and the dramatic reductions over the past decade that have made solar energy even more feasible for communities such as Guam?
Yeah, so certainly the global scale up of manufacturing, the demand has been driving that price down. I don't know the exact numbers, but probably a 90% reduction over the last 10 or 15 years. As Jeremy mentioned with storage, there has been a hiccup the last couple of years with solar prices where they actually have increased a little bit because of some supply chain constraints, as well as labor shortages in some markets where you can't find the people to actually install the plants quickly enough to get there. But we still do expect the costs to continue to come down for all renewable technologies. So even before COVID, a couple of years ago, solar was the cheapest generating resource that you could put on the grid, even cheaper than natural gas in most markets, solar and wind. And here on Guam, certainly where you're competing with oil-based generation, the cost of the systems themselves are lower. But as John mentioned, you really do need the technologies to integrate those into the grid. There's a lot of technical issues when you begin to put intermittent resources that are based on inverter technology into a system that's also running kind of traditional diesel engines. So you get potential frequency fluctuations and issues like that. So really managing and controlling the grid becomes more and more important as you get increasing amounts of renewables on the grid, as well as increasing things like electric vehicles. So as you begin to put new loads out there, everybody begins to have an electric vehicle that starts charging. It can lead to distribution system fluctuations. You've got storage on there. The grid was not traditionally designed for all of those things operating on the grid. So you need new technologies and new control strategies that I know GPA is working on to really bring to Guam to have the grid of the future.
Yeah, let's talk about grids, John, because you're in charge of that for GPA. From what I hear, a lot of the challenges are that it's that old NIMBY thing, not in my backyard. Yeah, grid's nice, but don't put it in my backyard. And then the permitting process. Talk about the challenges that you faced and GPA has faced over the past few years with preparing for the grid for this renewable energy.
Okay, so in the renewable integration study, it confirmed what we already had known, that we need flexible generation to keep up with this intermittency. Like I said, It's been over a decade since our feasibility study for battery energy storage, and we've been operating for over 2 years on that. And the permitting, I mean, there's even a battery up at the Ukadu power plant. A lot of people don't know that. We will, as a community, have to adjust to that, and we're going to have a real stakeholder-based process to try to, and this conference was part and parcel try to start this dialogue with the community and make sure that the right and correct information is out there, so that when we do the permitting, right, the island acts in concert, in full knowledge, and we won't have all of the delays that we've been having with all our other multiple projects that are supporting the renewable energy, as well as the Navy the Navy build out here on Guam. So, you know.
All right.
Yeah. So we're going to have to do this as a community. Okay. GPA has been driving this for ever since 2008 when 2007 when I went to my management and said, you know, I think there's something with this renewable energy stuff, and it's going to end up enabling us not only to reduce our power bills, right, but in building the grid, right, to get us ready for renewable energy, it's going to afford us the ability to correct all the deficiencies that we've been experiencing, like under frequency load shedding, those short outages. As we put more and more batteries, that's going to disappear.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So you know, it's an exciting time, and we've reached a tipping point where we're going to accelerate. We've been taking measured steps, not baby steps. I would ask Scott and Jeremy about how big of steps we've been taking towards renewable energy. But now we're going to be pushing the accelerator down flat to try to meet all the commitments, and we may end up reaching 100% and 50% far earlier than what's stipulated in the public law. At least GP has 2030. 2030 to reach 50%, we're going to overshoot that, and 100% by 2040. But you know, in the 30s, we're going to see a significant shift.
Let me stop you right there, John, because we need to take another break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about that accelerated movement towards renewable energy. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back in just a moment.
The wait is over, Guam. The all-new state-of-the-art car wash is now open at Cars Plus. Introducing Finish Line Express, open 7 days a week. The all-new cashless car wash is also the largest car wash on island that can accommodate vehicles such as lifted Jeeps and full-size pickup trucks. Just roll up, pick a wash, insert credit card, or show your EverWash app and roll through. Plus, power vacuums are available to clean the interior. Show your vehicle some love today at the all-new car wash at Cars Plus in Mighty. Open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week.
Okay, we are back, and prior to the break, we were talking about just how quickly this renewable energy thing, if you will, is coming upon us. And Jeremy, let me go to you. You talked earlier about storage and how how important that is. How quickly are we going to be able to adapt to all the innovations? Because it seems like, you know, 10 years ago was light years away from what we're able or capable of doing now. Talk about specifically storage.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, if you look at how, you know, battery energy storage particular has grown on the grid, you know, in 2015, you know, 8 years ago, there was virtually none. And you look at about 2020, things really started to take off. In 2020, we tripled the amount of storage that we have in the United States. In 2021, we doubled it. And then it's about to double again, basically. So it's taking off very quickly. You know, one of the challenges we're starting to see, though, is that there's only so much lithium ion out there, and if we're trying to decarbonize the grid, and we're trying to decarbonize transportation. That's a lot of competition for that lithium ion. And one of the big advantages of lithium ion batteries is they're energy dense, which means you can hold a lot of energy in a relatively small space. Of all the energy storage technologies lithium ion is the best at that. So it's really good for transportation, but for grid applications where we usually have a little more space to work with, we're really starting to see a lot of research and development take place into what are the new technologies, the new energy storage technologies that may be better suited to grid applications. So you're seeing a lot of investment into the flow batteries that and we're trying to develop technologies that use abundant earth materials, so things that are iron-based, sodium-based, materials that are easy and cheap to get is really the way that the research and development is going.
Yeah. So let me ask this. Let me hold on, John. Let me ask Scott and John about the Ukudu power plant, because when we talk about how quickly we're accelerating into renewables, we're just starting to this what will be, I guess, a 3-year project to build a $560 million conventional fuel driven power plant. So are we building a $560 million white elephant?
No, not at all.
Hold on. Let me get Scott in, then I'll get to you, John. Okay. Let me get your comments on that, Scott, and how fast are renewables possible, and what are your thoughts on building a $560 million more conventional type fuel powered generator at this time?
So personally, getting to 100% is going to take time. It's not something that's going to take place overnight. I think the public law, I think it's 3546, has a 2045 target. So that's still 20 plus years away. So as that transition happens, as more and more solar comes on the system, as batteries come on the system, you still need something for reliable, affordable power. The new plant is going to replace a lot of the older plants that were built 50, 60 years ago, which are frankly inefficient, probably more polluting, consuming more fuel. So having that modern power plant that is dual fuel capable, so you can run on ultra low sulfur diesel, as well as the potential for liquefied natural gas if that comes here. And then that gas ability would actually potentially, I know we haven't really talked much about it, but there's a lot of interest right now in the